Hello friends, welcome to LeggLife. Now that all of our Princess Cruise vlogs are out, we wanted to make one last video, just kind of wrapping up, giving a review of our entire 2023 Princess Cruise right here in our home state of Alaska.
This was our second Princess Cruise. Last year we were on the Royal, this year we were on the Grand.
Yep, and so we have a number of kind of categories that we just want to go through. Things like, I'm reading down here because I have notes, our itinerary, the ship, the food, the entertainment, the service. We want to tell you the good, the not so good, our overall review, would we do it again? Just kind of all of that stuff.
Yep.
Sherri Beth, we're going to start with what, in my opinion, may be the most important part of an Alaska cruise. Itinerary.
Itinerary.
So we don't really think of a lot about itinerary when we're cruising other parts of the world.
Yeah.
We don't think about like how long are we in port or all that kind of stuff because we're just kind of there to sit in the sun and drink fruity drinks.
Correct.
Right? Like it's just how it is for us.
Yep.
But Alaska's different.
Yes. Because you are here for the scenery.
You're here for Alaska.
Yep.
And so you want to spend as much time like experiencing and exploring Alaska as possible.
Yes.
So the itinerary is really important. And this itinerary was the exact same one we did on last year's cruise.
Yes.
We loved it last year.
We loved it again this year.
And we loved it again this year. Sherri Beth, some of your highlights of this itinerary.
What I love about it is the length of time that we're actually in port.
Yep.
So it's like a day-long kind of thing. We get there in the morning and we leave at night. And I really like that because that gives you plenty of time to kind of explore whatever town you're in. You can do a booked excursion and still have time to kind of explore a little bit, or you just have the whole day to explore and do your own thing and like really get to like see the town, which I really like.
Juneau and Skagway especially, we were there very early in the morning until very late at night. I think about 12 or more than 12 hours in each port.
Yep.
With the exception of Ketchikan. Ketchikan was like 6 a.m. to 3 p.m.-ish.
I think so.
I think.
Something like that.
But still enough time to get off the ship in the morning, go do a few things, walk around, see some friends, and then get back on the ship.
Yep.
That, I agree with you. That's actually my favorite thing. And I would say if you're booking an Alaska cruise, itinerary, I think, is so important. How long are you spending in each port?
Yes, and I do know that there are other cruise lines that stop at more places, but I think you're there for a shorter amount of time because you're stopping at more places. You have to like keep going. So we only had 3 ports, but I really like that we have all day in those ports. Yeah,
it's my favorite thing too. Of course, love that it goes to Glacier Bay.
Beautiful.
It's just, we've now been there last year in the sunshine and this year in the rain. Here's the thing, of course it's better in the sunshine. Right? Of course it is.
Right.
It is still stunningly beautiful in the rain.
It's still beautiful, and honestly, the rain is probably more usual.
It's more accurate to what it's normally like.
Correct.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if you get there on a sunshiny day, you are lucky. That doesn't happen very often. So I didn't expect us to hit it twice with sunshine. But it was still just stunning, even in the rain.
I also, for a very selfish reason, love that this cruise ends in Whittier because it's an hour from home. And so to be able to get off a cruise ship, hop on a train, and have it take you home and not have to have like a long flight home after the cruise.
Right.
It's just so nice.
It was so nice. Yep.
Yeah, you
not have like a whole day of travel.
You go from sleeping in the comfortable bed on the cruise to your bed.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So I love that as well. So the itinerary on this cruise, I think this is the northbound glacier cruise, something like that through Princess, 7 nights. And we have done it. We've done the exact same itinerary now twice.
Yep.
Is it the kind of thing that you're like, if we cruise Alaska again, I'd like to do something different? Or are you just like, I could do this itinerary forever?
I mean, not forever, both and. I think the itinerary I do love, and I love that we know people in all of the ports so we can like go see our friends. But also, I would like to see other places. I've never been to Sitka. I've never been, like there's places, other places that other ships stop or other itineraries stop that we have not done. So I would like to see those as well. But I would be okay continuing with this itinerary.
Yeah, I want to do more. I want to do more cruise ports. But if we did this exact same cruise every single summer, I'm not mad at all.
Right.
No. It was just amazing. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Anything else in the itinerary?
I don't think so. I do really like that the first day is an at-sea day, so you kind of have you can kind of experience or like explore the ship, kind of get your favorite bars, like figure out where you're going to be parking for the rest of the cruise. But then also I like that, Glacier Bay and College Fjords are essentially sea days. And you can, because you're just on the ship, there's no stopping. So you can just sort of like go outside and see this beautiful scenery and then go back inside and get some food and get some, entertainment and whatever. So, essentially you have 3 at-sea days, and I really like that. And they bookend the cruise. Yes. Which is great. And so it's like the beginning and the end. Yep. Which is just wonderful. So I agree with that. So itinerary, 2 thumbs up. Would not hesitate to book it again, even though we've now done it twice, because it's amazing. Yep. I do know that I heard of a lot of people on the ship that were doing like back-to-back. They were just doing like 14 days, so same cruise one way. Yep. I would also be interested in doing that. Correct. Because it sounds awesome. Next thing, especially if it started and then came back to Whittier. Started, because when we like sleep in our bed, go to the ship, get off the ship, go to bed. Yep. Amazing. Yep. Next, let's talk about the ship. Yeah. So the ship we were on is the oldest ship currently. Is this right? I think so. I think so. Don't quote us on this because I should know this, but you should know this. Sorry. I believe it was like the first. It's one of the oldest ships currently on operation in the Princess Fleet, if not the oldest. It's one of their smaller ships. Last year we were on the Royal, which is one of the bigger, the newer ships. Yep. So did you feel like this ship, the old small one, was a step back or a letdown, or like you got lesser of an experience? Not even at all. And I think we talked about this about like our Disney cruises. We actually really like the smaller ships. I feel like, I don't know, because of the way that we cruise, we don't necessarily need to be entertained 24 hours a day. And so while there is obviously great entertainment on the ship, which we'll talk about in a minute, I feel like there's a little bit less on the smaller ships, which gives us more time to actually relax and just enjoy the cruise. So, and it's easier on me because it's not walking so far from one end of the ship to the other. Yeah, we don't need to have things to do every hour of every day. It's not why we cruise. Right. I will say, for being an older ship, there were some things that I loved about that. The woodwork. It was beautiful. It felt like the classic ocean liner. Yeah. When I think of like cruising the way it used to be, this kind of ship, the Disney Magic, the Disney Wonder, they're what I think of and they're what I want. Yep. So I loved that. I loved the woodwork around the ship. Yep. It didn't feel run down or old. It was very well maintained. And you can kind of tell that it must have been in dry dock at least sometime in the last few years, because they did have USB ports in the rooms. The medallion was all over the ship. So it must have gone into some kind of dry dock to like update that kind of stuff. But it was in excellent shape. There are a few places where it did feel dated, not in a great way. Like the bathroom tile was like, oh, okay, it's older. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like little things like that. You know what I mean? When you walk into a dated bathroom and not dirty, just old. Not dirty, just old. There was, I will say, cleanliness. Cleanliness was great. Everywhere. Everywhere. The ship was very well maintained, and there were constantly people, like crew, cleaning everywhere you looked, which was excellent. There were a few things on the ship that I really loved, especially for Alaska. The covered pool. Yes. Amazing. That was so much fun. I mean, we never actually went in the pool, but like the idea of having a covered pool wouldn't make a ton of sense in like the Caribbean, but like in Alaska it totally does, because nobody else is swimming outside because it's 45 degrees. Although there were people swimming in the open air pools. There were people swimming. There were, I think, 4 pools that I saw on the ship. There was like the main pool, there's the covered pool, there's the pool at the very back of the ship, and then there was a little pool in the spa area. And I don't even know if I vlogged this in the cruise, maybe in the vlog series, maybe I did. It's like this little pool with a couple hot tubs that I think a lot of people assume are part of the spa, but it's open to everybody. Right. And so there were a lot of pools, which I thought was cool. Yep. There were also a lot of bars. Yep. I think we drank in most of them. Not all. If not all. At least one drink in all of them. Yeah. And so there were lots of restaurants around. There were just food options. Lots of good places to sit. Yep. Which we loved. Everywhere. Yep. Yeah. And so overall,
I have no complaints. I will say I was a little concerned because the ship we went on last year was just so big and new and fancy that this would feel a little bit like womp womp, and it didn't.
It didn't. Nope.
No.
Not at all.
Question though.
Yeah.
What do you prefer, last year's ship or this year's ship?
Oh man. Ooh.
Okay, I want to say, setting aside some of the things that we're about to talk about next.
Okay.
Ships, only ship.
Only ship.
Not food, entertainment, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Oh man. I would probably still go for the smaller. Just because of my mobility stuff.
Okay.
The bigger ship, I did feel like, and part of it, I think, you know, our room on the bigger ship, we were at the very front of the ship, and so to get anywhere, it was a long walk for me.
Yeah.
And it was a little too much. But I still just like the smaller ship. I loved the atrium
In this one?
in the Royal.
Oh, the last one, last year.
It was
Me too.
gold and opulent and stunning. Like, I took 8,000 pictures of it, and I never got tired of looking at it. Like, every time I walked into that room, it was just like, it's so pretty.
Beautiful.
And the Grand didn't have, the atrium is still beautiful, but it didn't have, like, the gold and the opulence that the Royal had.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So ship itself, I would probably still choose the smaller ship, but I really love the atrium on the Royal.
Let's talk, because you alluded to room. So let's talk about rooms now.
Okay.
We stayed in an inside stateroom.
Yes, we did.
On this cruise. Thoughts on the room? Did you like it? Would you book it again? Give me your stateroom thoughts.
I would book it again.
Okay.
Because of who I am as a person.
Okay.
I just really like having it so dark. And honestly, with like the mirrors everywhere, it looked a lot bigger than it was.
I agree.
And the layout, there was plenty of walking space. You weren't like shuffling along the side to get into the bed. There was plenty of space on either side of the bed, and then at the end, and like it didn't feel like a small room.
Agreed.
Which I was kind of concerned about with an inside stateroom, that it would just feel really small, and it really didn't. So I would personally book the inside stateroom again.
Now, you do travel with a sleeping mask, like an eye mask.
I do.
But even in a really lighted room, that still doesn't help you. It helps.
It helps.
But it doesn't make it better.
Right. It is still just very bright in a window or a balcony room.
Yeah, so I thought that this room was way better than I expected. I would, 10 times out of 10, book a veranda over an inside room. Because to me, so we're going to make a separate video about this, because before we ever cruised Alaska, one of the things that I have heard people say is if you cruise Alaska, you have to have a veranda room. I completely disagree. In fact, I could not disagree more.
Right.
However, there are some tips, I think, because I don't feel like we got a lesser experience of Alaska.
No.
Because of where our room was. No. It just comes down to personal preference. So I thought it was a really nice inside stay room. The mirrors helped a ton.
Yep.
The beds are so comfortable.
Yep.
Our stateroom host did a great job.
He was great.
Everything about the room itself was wonderful. Preference-wise, I would prefer to have a veranda because I could sit outside on a veranda for 20 hours a day and just stare at my state and be happy.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to have to go to the place where we are just getting 2 staterooms per cruise.
I'll just bring my eye mask.
We have Adam's room and we have Sherri's room.
I will say, I would always book an inside stateroom just because I like to sleep. But I do, because I also don't like to people, a veranda would be really nice because I could still like see outside and sit outside and read without people, just constant. So
yeah. So we're going to talk more about the inside veranda Alaska question in an upcoming video. But just, I don't think you have to have a veranda or an ocean view to cruise Alaska.
I think it's just a personal preference because there are still, and I think we'll probably talk about this in the other video.
We're going to talk about this in the other video. I know exactly where you're going.
I do think that if you get an inside stateroom, just get it near the outside.
Sherri, can't give away all the secrets. Sherri.
Sorry.
Gosh, you
we'll
guys.
Talk about it later.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, next. The next couple things are things that here's the thing. We want to be honest about our cruise experience.
Yep.
First of all, we had an amazing cruise.
Absolutely.
We would book this cruise, and we will, again, probably many, many more times.
Yes, correct.
But that doesn't mean that everything goes perfect on a cruise.
Right.
And we want to be honest about that stuff.
Yeah.
So let's talk food.
Let's talk food.
Last year, before we had cruised Princess, one of the things we had heard from people, they were saying, you're going to be so disappointed. Disney's food is the best. Now, if you watched our most recent Disney cruise vlog, you know we're kind of getting sick of Disney's food. Right? So that's happening as well. However, last year on the ship, on the Princess Cruise, us and the Zachmans were both like, this was amazing. It was as good. It was
If
so
not better. Like,
so spectacular.
Yeah, we had a lot of phenomenal meals.
This time, the food was a disappointment.
It kind of, yeah, it was. We didn't have anything that we didn't eat.
We didn't have any bad, like...
There was nothing bad. There's nothing that was just like, nope, not eating that. But nothing was like, ooh, I'm going to be craving that.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say nothing. I would say the vast majority of it.
The vast majority, yep. Yep.
So the first...
I still love the French onion soup.
The first several days, well, we did main dining the first day, and we were just disappointed. We did the buffet a couple times. We were just disappointed. It was just...
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. It was just okay. It wasn't bad. Things that I really liked food-wise, Alfredo's Pizza.
Yes.
I think we ate there more than any other venue because it was so good.
Mm-hmm. Slices is really great.
Slices pizza up on the pool deck. The salty dog, like the burgers, barbecue pulled pork, that kind of stuff, really good on the pool deck. The International Cafe, the sandwiches and the breakfast things they had.
Excellent.
Excellent. Loved that. That's also open 24 hours, which I loved.
Yeah.
The food we had delivered from room service, we had sushi, which was really good.
It was good, yep. I was kind of surprised at that.
But then the main dining stuff was where the letdown happened. However, it didn't stay not great the whole cruise. The best meal we had on the entire cruise
Sabatini's.
was Sabatini's.
Yeah.
Here's what's crazy, you guys. When we cruised last summer, we went to Crown Grill and Sabatini's. Sabatini's was just not great.
It was just okay, and especially because there is an upcharge for it, we were just like, I don't know that we'd eat there again.
And then Crown Grill was amazing. Now, we didn't eat at Crown Grill this time. Our friends Auburn and Sarah did, and their review of it was just kind of so-so.
Yeah, they weren't super impressed.
But then Sabatini's, all four of us went, blew us out of the water.
Excellent.
If I would have known that going into it, I would have booked Sabatini's multiple nights on the cruise.
Yeah.
Because it was so good, the service was so good. So I will say food-wise, and the thing is like, we didn't not eat. I mean, obviously, right? It just wasn't great.
Right. For us, like I said, there wasn't anything that we sent back because it was just not edible. There just wasn't anything, for the most part, that we really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I can't wait to get back on board and have that.
Right.
I want to go back to Sabatini's.
And Alfredo's.
And Alfredo's, for sure. I will say at the buffet, the things that I tend to find that were the best were the Indian foods.
Yep.
Some of the curry dishes were actually really good.
Yep.
Breakfast at the buffet was just kind of okay, sort of very, very basic. It felt like a hotel breakfast, to be honest with you.
I don't think I ever ate breakfast.
I don't think you ever ate breakfast. Every time I went for breakfast, I was by myself. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't think you did
Most
either.
people don't really eat breakfast.
And so, yeah, the food on the ship was a letdown.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next time it's better. I don't know why it wasn't as good.
I'm wondering if it's like a ship-to-ship sort of thing, or I don't really know.
Did we just really luck out last year?
Right.
But here's the thing I want you all to remember, and we've talked about this on lots of our past cruise vlogs. On that cruise, the exact same cruise, there would be people who maybe they're making a YouTube video like this right now, and what they're saying is it was the best cruise food they've ever had on any of their cruises.
Yes, correct.
You have to remember that this was our experience at a specific, time and place on a specific ship on a specific cruise.
Yep.
It is so different from person to person.
And these are completely our opinions because this is, I don't know, I mean, it's, again, somebody even on our cruise might have had a completely different experience.
And loved it. Best food they've ever had on a cruise.
Right.
We didn't have that experience.
Right.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
We get to have different experiences. So the food, not the best. Now let's talk about something that was really good and also just kind of so-so. Let's talk about entertainment.
Yeah.
So let's start with the really good.
Okay.
The entertainment around the ship.
Around the ship. Just the bands that they had kind of in the bars or just sort of around.
In different venues and all that. The band, we included them in a number of videos. Asian Soul.
Phenomenal.
Best.
I would pay money to actually go see them.
That's true, actually.
I mean, more than just like the cruise, but like I would go to a concert of theirs.
If they were coming to Anchorage and they were doing a show, we would go.
Absolutely.
The best on-ship cruise entertainment that's not like a ship show. That's like, you know what I mean, the other entertainment that we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Not even a close second.
No, so they were phenomenal, but then there were a few other kind of individuals just that bounced around different bars, and they were all really good.
There was a guy that we saw 2 or 3 times, just solo acoustic musician. I think he was from Montana, ? I follow him on Instagram. He was great.
He was great, yep.
There were other pianists around the ship that were so good. And so I actually loved, and here's the thing, we spent a lot of time in the evenings out at venues.
Right.
With just the 2 of us.
Yep.
And so, to me, the entertainment on the ship was really, really good because of those venues and those entertainers.
Right. Yep.
However, let's talk about the, like, big theater.
Stage shows.
The stage shows. So, excuse me. There was a comedian, I think maybe 2 comedians on the ship, in the Princess Theater. We didn't go to either of those.
No. It's not really our thing.
There's a few comedians we like. We're not huge into that.
Yeah.
Especially if we don't know the person.
Yeah.
And then there's, kind of tell us about the other ones.
The other stage shows?
Stage shows.
Yeah, so there were a couple where there were, I'm trying to think what they were. So there was one that was like...
Sweet soul music.
Sweet soul music,
yep.
Which was great. And then one that was more like...
British Invasion.
British Invasion, like Beatles kind of stuff. I actually did not go to that one.
Okay, I'll talk about that one, yep.
But the first one, the Sweet Soul, I thought that it was good. I didn't think it was great.
No, I agree.
The costumes were phenomenal. The dancers were great. The vocalists were good. Not the best I've ever heard. Which I also don't expect on a cruise ship, but it was...
Would you go back, if we did this cruise again and that show was happening again, would you go back and see that show?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, not great.
The British Invasion show was better than Sweet Soul Music.
Okay.
Because they had more of a... They had more of a stage. It almost like they had more props. It felt more like a show.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit. And it was better than the first one, I'll say that. Okay. I would go back to that one. The nice thing about both of them is that they were both filled with music that you knew and could sing along to.
Yep.
There were people singing along, people dancing, people clapping, people like getting into it. But yeah, I agree with you. To me, when I think of the entertainment on this cruise, if I didn't do anything that happened in the Princess Theater, I'd be totally fine.
Yeah.
And I just spent my time in the bars listening to the different musicians around.
They were all really great.
Because they were so good.
Yep.
So that's kind of the entertainment. It was like really great, so-so, a little bit.
Again, nothing bad, nothing terrible that I wanted to walk out of. But
not at all.
Just, yeah.
Let's talk the last thing, service.
Service.
This is a big one for us.
Yep.
Because this touches every aspect of your cruise.
Right.
Bad service will make a great cruise miserable.
Yes.
Whereas good service or great service will make a not so great cruise actually pretty good.
Right.
How was the service on the ship?
Now, we had a good cruise. We also had phenomenal service.
Yes.
Which really just elevated the good cruise. Our service across the board, no matter where we were, what was happening, was fantastic. Our stateroom host was great. All the servers in the bars we went to and the restaurants were great. The bartenders were amazing.
Guest services
were super helpful.
People in gift shops.
Yep, everything was just great.
Yeah,
yeah.
The service really was spectacular. I'm trying to think on a 7-day cruise of one negative service experience. And I can't think of one.
I don't think
Now, are there other times where it's like the app didn't work and I didn't get a drink I ordered? Yeah. But I don't necessarily consider that service. That's more tech.
That's tech. I think there's something that was just weird about the app.
In fact, I want to point out one situation. I actually ordered a drink through the app, didn't get it, and then ordered another drink through the app a little bit later. And the server, who we'd gotten to know in one of the bars, saw the order come through and came and found me.
Right.
I was sitting downstairs by myself in Vines. I think it might have been Glacier Bay night, maybe. And he was like, hey, Adam, I just saw 2 orders come through, and I don't know if you got your first one. I was like, oh, I didn't. He's like, well, he goes, I thought maybe that was the case.
Do you still want it? I can cancel it. Like, what do you want?
It was amazing that he, like, recognized that this might be an issue. Because of the medallion, he knew where I was on the ship.
Right.
He came and found me and took care of it.
Yep.
And that
he
was...
also knew us because we spent a lot of time.
That's true. And so that was spectacular.
Yep.
It was so
really
good.
Great service.
The service was amazing.
Yeah.
Now, Princess does have a couple of sort of upgrade options that we had not planned on doing.
Right.
There's Princess Plus and Princess Premier. I don't know all of the details. You can Google it.
Right.
Princess Plus included drinks up to, like, I think $15. I think Premier is up to $20. It includes wireless internet for one device. It includes gratuities. It includes a few other things, whereas...
Coffee.
Yeah, coffee, bottled water, sodas.
Yep.
Whereas Princess Premier includes, like, reserved seats in the theater, a complete photo package, like, lots of different stuff. And obviously...
I think, the upcharge dining it includes.
Oh, that's right. It includes, I think, 2 upcharge dinings for the Premier. We did the Plus, which was, like, the first step in. It was, I think...
It was $420 per person.
That's right, for the whole cruise.
For the whole cruise.
So it ended up being $840. And at first you're like, and this was my thing. I was like, oh, $840, we're never going to spend that extra. And so, no, we're not going to get it.
But here's the thing, and this is, and actually the guy that went and found you is the guy that, like, sold us this, this Plus package. And he was like, get out your phone, open up your calculator. And he's like, assume you have 6 drinks a day.
Yeah.
That includes coffees, like with Irish cream or whatever. 6 alcoholic beverages throughout the course of the day. Do the math.
Yep.
And so I did. And it was like over $400.
And that doesn't include the fact that we were going to buy the internet. We actually had already bought the internet.
That didn't include the coffees and the, like, stuff that I would have gotten anyway.
Yep.
Which we would have to pay for.
Yep. And for me, the thing that I loved, because I was, honestly, you were much more willing to get this package before the cruise than I was. I was the one who was like, nah, let's hold off on this. I don't know that I would cruise without getting that package.
I agree. And not because we're, like, crazy lushes, but, like, it was nice to just not have to worry about, because it included 15 alcoholic beverages a day.
Which is insane.
I never got there, but I still got my money's worth because I had more than 6. And so, you know, throughout the whole day, and plus my coffees, plus my bottled waters, plus our Wi-Fi, plus, you know, like, all of these things, gratuities, everything was great. And so, like, it just, for us, like, you see that number right at the beginning and you're just like, oh god. But it was worth it. Here's
the thing. I went back and I looked at a past Disney cruise we went on. We spent on a 7-night Disney cruise that we did recently. So with the Princess Plus, Princess Premier, the sticker shock happens up front. But then when we got off the cruise, we had basically only the things we bought in gift shops.
Right.
There was no other charges.
Right.
I'm used to getting off Disney cruises and having additional $1,200, $1,500 in charges.
Right.
You know what I mean? From all of the stuff.
Right.
And so for us, we spent hundreds of dollars less on this week-long cruise than we have on other week-long cruises because we did the package.
Yep.
I'm sold, and I absolutely wasn't going into this cruise.
You weren't, but, like, when Lester started talking about it, I was just like, I think it's kind of worth it.
In fact, I said yes because I knew you wanted to try it, but I was so not convinced. But then I think it was like day 2 or day 3. I'm kind of doing the numbers in my head, especially because think about the course of the day. You go to the coffee shop twice in the morning.
At least.
Right? At least. Get a couple specialty coffees.
Yep.
You might have a beer, or I might have a beer with lunch. I might have, like, a drink before dinner, a couple drinks after dinner. Might have
during dinner.
That's a duck fart, because you guys know, gotta do duck farts. And so you get to the end of the day and you realize that, oh, this saved me a bunch of money.
Oh, I had more than 6.
Yeah, loved it.
I thought it was great.
Okay, Sherri, we're gonna wrap it up now.
Okay.
And the last question is simply, how was it? Give me your wrap up of the cruise. Did you like it? Did you love it? Good, bad? What? I
loved it, and I would do it again. Same ship, same itinerary, everything. We just really like cruising, but I had a great time. It was so much fun doing it with Auburn and Sarah.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go, is to cruise with friends. Last year was the Zachmans, this year was Sarah and Auburn. I don't know, it just makes it so much more fun, I think, especially because usually in a group of 4, there's 2 people that do one thing and 2 people that do another, so we don't have to always be like all 4 of us, but when it is all 4 of us, we're still having a blast. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't change anything. It
was such a good cruise.
Yeah.
It was so relaxing, it was so wonderful. Cruising Alaska is just so, it's hard to explain. I heard years before, like, we'd ever cruised Alaska, people talked about Alaska being their favorite cruise. They loved cruising Alaska. And I understand.
I get it.
I get it.
Yep.
I mean, even living here, I get it.
And honestly, we kind of put it off because we were like, yeah, we live here.
We live
like,
here.
we don't need to do an Alaska cruise. We see this all the time. It's vastly different. It's a whole different part of our state, keeping in mind that our state is huge. And so it's a whole different part. It's a whole different scenery. Everything is different, and it's beautiful.
If this was like our summer tradition where we did an Alaska cruise every summer, I'm not mad about it.
Nope.
Not mad at all.
I'm great.
And I do agree with you. Cruising with friends is, you have to find the right people.
Right.
But what was great, and the Zachmans were like this last year as well, is that you don't always have to be together, right? There's some, you think about that, like the dreaded family vacation, where it's like, oh God, now we all have to go look at the world's largest ball of yarn. It's like everybody has the freedom to do whatever they want, to go to their things, to not go to their things, to wake up early, to sleep in, to go to bed early, to stay up late, to, you know what I mean? Like, whatever.
We did a lot of stuff with all 4 of us. We did a lot of stuff with just the 2 of us. I did a lot of stuff just on my own. Like, I would just find a little nook and read.
And that there's freedom for everybody to do that.
Yep.
It was amazing.
The choose your own adventure.
What a good way to put it. So friends, there you go. Want to know, do you have questions? Let us know in the comments below. We'll do our best to answer them.
Yep.
But yeah, overall, it was spectacular. Would do it again and will do it again.
Yes.
So we love you guys, and we'll see you on the next LeggLife video.